Welcome back. So I'm still reading the national bestseller Salvation, Black People in Love by the author Bell Hooks. My voice is voicing it. I'm struggling with allergies. I hope you can hear me clearly. We're still in chapter 6, Mama Love, and I'm jumping back in. Until black females are no longer collectively perceived always and only through racist and sexist stereotypes, cultivating self-love will remain a difficult, though by no means impossible task. So racism and sexism, remember I have a video on intersectionality. It's like two oppressions, or two or more, of course, crossing, where people have different identities that result in them being oppressed. Throwing off the burden placed on us by sexism and racism is one of the ways that we love ourselves and other black women. All loving black females threaten the status quo. Clearly, the most troubled black females are those who try to find a place for themselves within the existing paradigms by internalizing self-hatred. When any black female acts out in a manner that is in keeping with negative stereotypes, there's more room for her in the existing social structure than there is for decolonized black women who challenge the status quo. No doubt, this is why so many young black women feel that the only options they have are to claim the roles of B and Ho. By embracing these labels, they can feel a false sense of agency. They fit within the dominant culture's ideas of them. So yeah, when you're hurting yourself, white supremacy serves, so you'll be rewarded. But the reward can't cover for the pain that you inflict on yourself when you hate yourself. Continuing, like their enslaved counterparts, these black females find the strength to survive through processes of disconnection and disassociation. And as we already know, I'm speaking here, those are trauma responses. They feel that being emotionally open and vulnerable, which we must all be if we are to love and be loved. We have to be open and vulnerable. This only means that they will be wounded or worse, crushed. So they think if you're open and vulnerable, you're going to be wounded or crushed. Better not to have a heart than to have one that is constantly breaking. When I first began to teach women's studies courses focusing on black women, students often describe their perception of adult black women using words like stern, strong, and hard. Again and again, I would hear students of all colors describe black women they saw on the streets as unsmiling and rigid. When we would later examine the details of black women's lives, facts that document the reality that many of us live in poverty or do low-paying jobs without access to health care, that we're likely to be single for much of our adult life, that of the 3 leading causes of death for women, heart disease, breast cancer, and lung cancer, we're disproportionately at risk and more likely to die if we have these illnesses, and that we are daily the victim of unacknowledged verbal and physical assault, both in the streets and in our homes. They understood the reason black females do not appear open and playful. After examining these facts, students will often say, "What do black women have to smile about?" And I like that question because, yes, she's pointing out a truth that there are many black women who appear not to have anything to smile about. But yet, all of us know black women who are warm and smile, and part of this is to figure out how they got there, how they got to thriving while black. so we can emulate and keep on pushing that value in our community. Since adversity has been so unrelenting in black women's lives, a great many black females are losing faith. When I meet with young black girls who are already deeply cynical about their fate in this society, I'm reminded of the reality that hatred of black women is ever present in this culture and gathering added momentum. And she did not live to see the gender wars, on the internet with the blue pill, red pill, crazy pill people trying to get men and women, black women and men, to hate each other for $1. The young feel its painful assaults before they have established a sense of self strong enough to ward off this threat. Again and again, I'm reminded of the fact that as racial integration removed barriers that once forbade contact and connection, invisible, unspoken barriers were put up in their place because white supremacy is a multiple-headed hydra. It keeps recreating itself. In my adult life, I rarely hear a white person express this contempt and disdain for black womanhood, but I see it in the images white people create. I see it in the way young white women treat black women they have hired as nannies. At times, their interaction is like a scene from the antebellum South. No wonder then that black girls can sit and tell me that no one sees them as desirable, especially if they have dark skin. Girls growing up in segregated black communities and schools did not doubt their value as profoundly as girls did in integrated environment. In segregated spaces, black people controlled representation, yet we did project images of ourselves that were constantly self-hating and ugly. For black girls to have a chance to build healthy self-esteem in an integrated colonizing environment, there must be oppositional strategies and places that promote decolonization. And decolonization is an idea taken away from indigenous peoples, and by decolonization they meant just that, no longer having white dominance over them on their land. And we colonized that word, or took it in, and to mean that when we're using it in the context of black people, we're thinking emancipating yourself from mental slavery, as Garvey said. Continuing, weary adult black women often abandon the emotional care of young females. In the face of unchanged racist and sexist stereotypes, older black women often harden their hearts so as not to feel the pain. Numb emotionally, they are often aggressively judgmental and punishing in their attitudes toward younger females. As black women, any black woman who reads contemporary fiction by African American women find their narrative after narrative of mothers emotionally shaming and wounding their daughters. As a girl, I was always disturbed when hearing the old saying, quote, "Black women raise their daughters and love their sons." It suggested not only that girls did not matter, but that the only role our mothers played in relationship to us was to keep us in check, to discipline and punish us, or teach us how to conform to a woman's lot, showing us how to be subordinate and servile. Often when a young black female has been hurt, attacked, raped, or incested, she's blamed by stern black matriarchs. I've witnessed daughters telling their mothers about sexual abuse. These mothers responded with harsh, interrogating questions, denying the truth of their daughter's words, rather than giving sympathy or offering therapeutic care. These acts of unlove are what leads so many black females to harden their hearts as they strive to make the transition from being teenagers to young adulthood. They lose faith. This loss can be as detrimental to the psyche as addictions. Confirming this in her book, Stop Being Mean to Yourself, Melody Betty contends, quote, there are many drugs that can injure the body and deaden the soul: cocaine, alcohol, heroin, marijuana. But there are other drugs whose narcotic power we overlook. Disillusionment and betrayal can grind away at our souls until all our faith and hope are gone. The cumulative effect of a lifetime of disappointment can leave us wandering around confused, lost, and dull. Whether it happens in one moment or over many years, losing faith deadens the spirit. End quote. This seems to answer Langston Hughes's question. What happens to a dream deferred, right? When you lose faith, does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Does it fester then run? Does it implode or explode? Sometimes for women, we keep it in and it becomes diseases in our bodies. Popular racist and sexist myths that depict black women as strong matriarchs, able to endure any and all blows to the spirit, keep everyone from acknowledging black female heartache and woundedness. They're not doing us a favor when they say strong black women. They don't mean it as a compliment. They are doing it so that they can justify not helping us. You're strong. You can manage the things that you were not created to manage. You're strong. You're built for oppression. Nope, we were built for love, to love and to give love. To avoid pain, black females often turn to substance abuse or to psychic self-mutilation by disconnecting and closing the door to their hearts. Women who harden their hearts, who turn away from love, are unforgiving in their relationships with other females. This is as true of black women as it is of any group of women in this society. In my book about writing, entitled Remembered Rapture, I included an essay discussing the fact that black women who write about my work have done so with a level of mean-spirited hatefulness that is awesomely intense. Audre Lorde was one of the first black female feminist thinkers to call attention to the rage and hostility black women unleash on one another. In her insightful essay, Eye to Eye, Lorde wrote, quote, why do black women reserve a particular voice of fury and disappointment for each other? Who is it we must destroy when we attack each other with that tone of predetermined and correct annihilation? This cruelty between us, this harshness, is a piece of the legacy of hate with which we were inoculated, end quote. Ironically, when a black woman reaches out with tenderness and care, other black females may see her as not tough enough, as not a real black woman. A projection that once again denies us our full humanity. And here is internalized racism, right? It says if you are tender and gentle and caring, if you're fully human, you can't be a real black woman, because a real black woman is a bee or a hoe or, tough, not a little princess. Words that I've heard but did not pierce me. Continuing, Lorde was clear about the fact that many black women had to unlearn their own sexist woman-hating to love themselves and other black women. She confesses, quote, until now there has been little that taught us how to be kind to each other. To the rest of the world, yes, but not to ourselves. There have been few external examples of how to treat another black woman with kindness, deference, tenderness or an appreciative smile, end quote. When I first read this essay, it seemed alien to my experience, and I was struck by the fact that Lord was writing from her experience growing up in the urban North, the child of West Indian parents. In the southern world of my upbringing, much of the sweetness of my life came from the tenderness of black women. Significantly, these women were often poor and working class. There was not the level of competition between them that characterized middle and upper class black women. I was raised in a two-parent household with 5 sisters and 1 brother, and my mother consciously talked with her girls about the ways competition and envy divide and separate. She let us know in no uncertain terms that there would be no catfights, no wars over boys, that we would respect and love one another as sisters. Her powerful lessons in sisterhood have stayed with us. We know how to love one another. We know how to open our hearts. Black women make a mistake when we assume that closing ourselves off and wearing the mask of indifference makes us strong or keeps us well. Repressing our feelings lead to stress and lead to a variety of illnesses. Allowing ourselves to feel only rage is equally debilitating. To love ourselves rightly, to love others, we have to claim all our emotions. All our emotions. All humans are entitled to voice, to feel all their emotions without judgment, without sanction. Continuing, following in the path of Sojourner Truth and other wise black women elders, black females must constantly assert our full humanity to counter the impact of dehumanizing forces. Expressing our full range of emotions is healing to the spirit and engages us in the practice of self-acceptance, which is so essential to self-love. Underneath the stern expression I saw my mother and many of her friends wear was an ongoing fear that if they let their guards down, even for a minute, they would be disrespected, hurt, or violated in some way. To love, we have to let fear go and live faith-based lives. Living in faith means that we recognize, as our wise black female ancestors did, that we do have the power to decolonize our minds, or I would say, in the words of Marcus Garvey, to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. We can invent ourselves and dwell in the spirit of love. That is our true destiny. So I'm not going to be mushy. There are times when you let down your guard and people think you're soft and stupid and a victim and try to take advantage of you. I've learned in my life to, when I do that people who try to take advantage of someone they perceive as weak is never a danger, because only cowards do that. Real predators are only attracted to a fellow warrior. So sometimes you have to let down your guard to see who the fools are. And then you can unleash some of your dragon fire to remind them that gentle isn't weak. Gentle is a choice, and it's very strong. Tell me what you think. Thanks so much for listening.